And by the way, I'm here today with my dear friend, a good friend, Barbara King, who is the chairperson of the board of the African American Diabetes Association. She's leading the effort to educate people in Boston and around the country around diabetes in the African American community. Her and a bunch of other folks from Boston and Maryland and places in between came together some number of years ago to actually develop the organization. And we're going to have a free flowing conversation with Barbara King and obviously myself, because I also assisted in developing this organization a number of years ago, but we began to do work in the African American community of Boston, specifically Roxbury. But before we get started about what the African American Diabetes Association is doing, let's talk with Barbara King first, and obviously myself, about our challenge with diabetes and how it brought us to a place to establish the African American Diabetes Association. So welcome, Barbara.
Hi, all, and welcome. And I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited actually because I'm trying to spread the alarm and share the alarm on diabetes. It's very important to me. I am a diabetic, type 1 diabetic. I have had diabetes for many of years, over 15 years. I have lost my pancreas, total pancreatectomy. So I'm living without a pancreas. A lot of people find that hard to believe, but by the grace of God, I'm alive. And so I received a call from Rock when he had his challenges, and he will share that. But I received a call from Rock, and we both used to talk about our diabetes challenges, and we did a lot of other things together. But when he said about his challenges, and he said, Barbara, let's do something about it. And I was ready, and I put my gears on, and I'm ready to fight. And so I'm here because I'm ready to fight. And for those that can't speak for themselves, the incarcerated, I'm here for them also. So I feel like I'm a resource person, but I'm also a person that is a survivor. And so I'll put it back to Rob.
Yes, and you are a survivor. And
yes.
I'll tell you, this experience that you've been having, and I've been walking through that experience with you, and you have been walking through my own personal experience with diabetes as well. A lot of folks said, hey, guess what? How did you get diabetes? For me, it was because I became overweight. That's a reality. I became overweight. Some people call it obesity. I didn't like that word, let me tell you. But, I became overweight, and with eating differently from what I did as a young person. I did a lot of running back in the day, and then I stopped running. Knees gave out, and I started gaining weight. And in gaining weight, I guess about 15 years ago, similar to you, I had the challenge of diabetes. And I'll tell you, my experience with diabetes was interesting because of the fact that as an African-American man, I wanted to learn about diabetes. Like so many people, that when the doctor says you got diabetes, I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I said, oh my God. I started looking on the internet and trying to find out what diabetes is all about, because he wasn't explaining it to the level, because he wasn't an endocrinologist. He actually was just a regular general practitioner. So he didn't have the details that were necessary. So I went to the American Diabetes Association, tried to get information on Blacks and diabetes, and the information was non-existent, zero. And I shared that with Barbara, and I shared it with a bunch of other folks. And we came to the conclusion that the American Diabetes Association not to spread bad news, but the American Diabetes Association at the time wasn't doing enough with regards to providing information on diabetes in the African American community. And we said, essentially, as you said, Barbara, we want to build our own institution that addresses diabetes in the Black community. And I'm so glad that you participated in that process, and actually you became the chairperson of the board. How does that work? How does that feel? Hearing a board of directors, a national board of directors that is addressing diabetes, not just in Boston, but across the country. You're doing such good work in places outside of Boston. How does that feel? You're impacting in such a big way.
It feels good. It feels wonderful. I think it feels more wonderful for me, and I just feel so blessed to be able to sit here and to be able to share my experiences with diabetes, to be able to be the chair of this board, and to be able to know that I can, to be able to help others and to be able to make decisions that we know that is going to ring the alarm on diabetes. Yes, I was a little shocked when, I started getting calls from the news media and all of that. And I'm like, oh boy, I was a little nervous, but it started coming so naturally, so good, because it's my story. Mm-hmm. And so if I know that that's my story, then I know that there's a whole bunch of others out there that have their story. And, I've had a lot of disappointments trying to get, the proper health care with my diabetes. So I know that me, with my mouth, that I do speak up for myself when it comes to medically. And it took me years to do that. But I just feel so fortunate. I think I speak up more now with diabetes. When I go to the doctors, I let them know what I want them to do and what I think is right for me. So I think just being a part of this organization has really grown. It's made me grow. It's had me to grow.
Good. And by the way, I've been growing too with my participation on the African American Diabetes, or what we call AADA, African American Diabetes Association. That's a long word, so let's do AADA. That's what we love, the AADA.
Yes.
And so let's talk, just drill down just a little bit, because I'm going to want to share my experiences as well. But let's drill down. You're the board chair of the AADA, but you've been having these challenges yourself with diabetes.
Big challenges.
Continues.
Yes.
Talk a little bit, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Challenges, because this is a walkthrough that others need to know about. That learn right now that they got pre-diabetes or diabetes. Tell us what you've been walking through, what this change is that you have been facilitating, this change, this community change, this in many ways horror story about what happens when a Black woman or a Black man has diabetes and you're not provided the resources or the services that you deserve. Talk a little bit about that. Some of the things the challenges I have with my diabetes is I have severe hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugars. My sugars drop so low. I've been in a coma twice due to low blood sugars. I when I say by the grace of God, I am here. By the grace of God, I am here. Diabetes has, I got severe diabetic neuropathy in my legs. Some days I could barely walk. Just yesterday, I sent Rock a picture of, they had to draw out 60 cc's of fluid out of my knee. And I say to them, why is this?
oh, because of the complications sometime of diabetes, you start getting swelling and you get arthritis, your bones start deteriorating. And some of the things that I've never been told, I've never, a lot of my issues that I have is, I think if I was told ahead of time that this is what is that I could expect to happen if I didn't do certain things. When they took my pancreas out, they didn't really know much about it. So when they took it out, they gave me no information. I didn't even know I was going to be a diabetic. They gave me no insulin, no nothing. And I could not believe it. And so they said, you need to just go see my diabetic doctor. They said that I needed to go see them. And so I went to see them. And when I went to see him, he said, well, let's try some insulin. And they tried insulin. My sugar started going down, but it took years. And then I was with this doctor for years. And I just finally said, I'm just experiencing too much. This should not be happening. And I finally moved my care to another doctor, to Mass General. And I've gotten, my hemoglobin was so high, it was 12.9, and it finally went down, and I got it down to I think it's 8.9 now. And so the challenges that this has really caused me is the severe neuropathy. They want to put a spinal stimulator in my spine to try to control the pain in my legs. At night, it's worse. And so, it's a lot of medications I could take for that. I do get the high blood sugar. So if I'm not getting the lows, I get more lows, but I get the high blood sugars. I get the cramping in my fingers where I can't move them sometimes. So I just feel like my life is consistent on a day-to-day basis. So it's consistent on a day-to-day basis because of diabetes. And so I feel like I need to get that under control where I'm not going to let it control my life. And what keeps me going is I say, if cancer didn't kill me, I'm not going to let diabetes kill me.
That's
now,
right.
If I do pass, it might say the complications of diabetes. But I'm going to try to prevent that also. So hopefully I can continue to do this work, and I'm going to fight for myself and others.
Very good. Thank you very much, Barbara. And I'm sorry that you're having to go through so much with diabetes, and the fact that your original physicians didn't educate you like so many other Black Americans, so many other Black Bostonians or Black folks in Massachusetts that don't get the services that they deserve. I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm so happy about as well is the fact that Commonwealth of Massachusetts has provided this resource to us to actually educate the Black community of Boston about diabetes. And that's a first. That's a first that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is saying, guess what? This disparity about diabetes and its impact on Boston's Black community has to be addressed. And we want to develop a grassroots effort to address diabetes in the African-American community. Now, I understand that Pastor Wall is in the house, and actually, Pastor Wall, we want to celebrate him too for the work he's done to assist us in educating the people of Boston in particular, but the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and around the country, because this platform has 30 different internet service providers, and it gets across the country, if not the world, and people do call in and get advice on this issue of diabetes. Actually, Pastor Wall put in the chat room, he wanted to know if there is a support group for people with diabetes. And I have to answer that question straight out and forthright, and that is that the AADA is now working to create chapters in every state of the union, but working in the diabetes belt is our priority. And our other priority, obviously, is our hometown of Boston, Massachusetts. And Massachusetts, we're doing work with diabetes as well. So we are in the process of developing a support group for diabetics in Boston. So great question, Pastor. And I know you have something to say. Barbara, go right ahead.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Also, no, we don't have support groups, but we do appreciate Eric Kennedy and Pastor Rock, say his name, Pastor Hobbs. And so we are having an event on the 28th of this month. And so we don't have a support group, but we are trying to bring this to the community. It's very important. So we ask people to come out. It starts at 6. I don't have the schedule, but we put it up there so people will know the date and the time of this. So it's important if you want to learn more about diabetes and how we could try to support the community and bring in support groups into the community. So this is a way also for us to see what, the people that want the help and the support. And if we see that we can build a support group. That's what the AADA is about. We're about trying to bring things into the community to make sure, because we already know that there's disparities with race. So we know that this is something that we have to do. It's not something that it's a must. It's a must that we must do this. Diabetes is a killer. It's a killer, and it does not have to be. And so, yes, we need to bring it into the communities, into our communities.
Yes, and one of the things that we're doing, and actually I want to share with the audience that are listening and will be listening in the future. This is going to be on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the whole 9 yards. Pastor Bruce Wall has made this platform available across the internet. And one of the things that we want to educate folks about is the fact that we're doing work in specific neighborhoods, specific communities we found out through the Boston Health Commission, who we have a partnership with regards to this particular project that we're working on in Boston. We found out that we have an opportunity to actually do work in 3 targeted communities. And those 3 targeted communities are Orchard Park. That's number uno. Well, guess what? Why do I say it's number uno? Because I grew up in Orchard Park. So I have to go with my folks from Orchard Park that are having some challenges with diabetes. We're following the numbers. Diabetes in Orchard Park is at horrific numbers. We're also following and working in Academy Homes. Guess what? Another community that I lived in a long time ago as well. And we're also, here's the third, but I actually didn't live in JP, but guess what? JP has a diabetes challenge as well. So those 3 communities of Roxbury that we looked at the data and found that there was high incidence of diabetes, educational needs, and diabetes challenges, we wanted to work in those 3 targeted communities. We're also expanding beyond those 3 communities, not with these contract dollars, but actually just doing some good work in other communities that Urban Edge and other real estate companies are working in as well. And so we're developing partnerships beyond the targeted 3 communities that we originally wanted to participate in. So that's what's going on in Boston. And we're also, as well, and Barbara, you can speak to this, you just did a couple of minutes ago, the fact that we're doing some work in the criminal justice system, or I call it the criminal injustice system. We're working in a couple of the prisons because the prisons are a place that everybody forgets about, except AADA, and thank goodness the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has found the need to address diabetes in the prison community. Talk about that if you don't mind.
I do know, I speak with inmates on the phone at times regarding the healthcare, and I try to speak to the ones that have diabetes issues because they suffer too. So we think of the disparities only out while we're out and free. So you can imagine the health disparities that they get while they're in the inside. And sometimes they really can't do anything about it. And so they're deprived of a meal to keep their sugars at a level that they should stay at. And so you can't give somebody insulin in the morning and then just leave them until they get their next dosage in the evening. It doesn't work like that. They need to be monitored because if they eat, their sugar is going to go up. Mm-hmm. And so we don't know if enough insulin was given to make sure that their sugar come back down.
Right.
And so I can only imagine with the challenges that I have with trying, and I have an insulin pump, and we'll talk about that also. But if I'm having challenges with an insulin pump, so I can imagine the challenges that someone that's incarcerated, that don't even have something that they can prick their finger and check their insulin with, their blood glucose reading, that is totally, it's inhumane. Like they cannot check their blood sugar to see what is going on with them. It's just not a good thing for me to hear and to know that someone could die over this. That's something that could be controlled. So we are here for the people, for the voiceless that are incarcerated. And we will, the ADA is determined, that's one of our determinations, is to help the incarcerated with their diabetes and to make sure we don't want to help them. We want to help the prisons to make sure that they're taking care of them with their diabetes because that's their responsibility. Yes, no matter what they did, they still deserve to be treated like a human being and not based on their race.
We agree. So let me ask you this, and excuse me for a second. So you talked about insulin pump. What is an insulin pump?
I have an insulin pump that gives me my sugar, and I can show it to you guys. I don't know if you can see it, but that's what it looks like. And then it has my sugar reading on there, and it has levels that tell me where my sugar is, and it goes all day for 24 hours, and it just tells me, and it continues to give me insulin through the pump, and it's attached to my body. And so if I eat a piece of toast or something, I can give myself insulin that will, for that carb. They say carbohydrates and stuff. And this is why it's important to have meetings and groups to teach people, because I never even knew that if I ate one piece of bread, I'd look at it and it says 15 carbs. I didn't know that I was supposed to give myself 1 unit of insulin. You know why? Because they never told me.
Right.
And so they never told me. So I'm sitting here wearing an insulin pump for years, and they said it. They tell me how much you're supposed to give. But what happens when it go high? I never knew that, this pump that I have, it is a miracle.
It is.
And I've had it for so long, and I've had different ones. But the problem is if you don't have the proper if they don't teach you the proper tools and they don't teach you how to properly use it, it's not even worth having. But you know why they didn't teach me? Because of the color of my skin. I see Caucasians with this pump. I had to fight for it in order to get it. It took me almost years for the insurance company to give it to me. How would I get denied and I don't have a pancreas, but someone else of a different race can get it? And I was told by somebody of Caucasian that, Barbara, you should have a pump. You should have a pump. And I said, they won't give it to me. They keep denying me. She said, I cannot believe it. I got it so quick. And I've heard that several times. And when African Americans ask for the pump, oh, you're not ready. Oh, we got to make sure your sugars are here. Oh, we got to do this. They give you every excuse in a book. No, you have insurance, make them pay for it. If you are a type 1 diabetic and your your sugars are out of control, you are to fight for your insulin pump, or you need to try to reach out to the ADA.
Yeah, that's right. So let me ask you this, and this is critical. And by the way, let me go back just a minute. We're talking with Barbara King. She is the chairperson of the board of the African American Diabetes Association, based out of Boston, Massachusetts, and in Maryland as well. And we're talking about what we do as African Americans to protect ourselves and educate ourselves about diabetes in the African American community of Boston and around the country. And she leads the African American Diabetes Association, as I said, as the chairperson of the board. And she is talking about her own personal experiences. And by the way, these personal experiences are some of what others have been experiencing with diabetes. And you're talking about this insulin pump, Barbara, and you're talking, let me cut to the chase on this one. And the chase that I'm cutting to is the fact that this insulin pump is keeping you alive. Isn't that a fact?
Absolutely. It is definitely a fact. It keeps me alive. If I didn't have this pump, when I didn't have it, I was in a coma. I'm trying to control my sugars. So why would you deny me when you know that you know that I need it? I don't have a pancreas, because you don't understand not having a pancreas, that I'm gonna die. And so and I absolutely know 100%. It was because of my race. The reason why I did not get my insulin pump when I needed it. I know for a fact. And to this, me dealing with a lot of my challenges right now, if I didn't speak up, I tell you, I would not be getting the care that I am given. Why should we have to leave a doctor that is endocrinologist that is there to take care of me with my sugars and to try to help me to live? Why do I need to be changing 3 endocrinologists, a person that don't have a pancreas? It's beyond me. And so I know if I didn't speak up, and because of my race, and I know it, if I didn't speak up, they would not have done anything. During COVID, if I did not know what I was doing, I was lost. And that's what made me just leave my providers, leave that hospital altogether. Because I said, you know what? They didn't even call me during COVID to say, how's your diabetes going? Are you able to control it? When I call to make an appointment, you can't come in the office. So I just don't. So I know, and then I hear people say, oh no, my doctor did call me and they let me know that, they were here if I needed something. Okay. I didn't get no calls. I was forgotten about. Why was I forgotten about? That's horrible. Very horrible. It's disgusting.
That's right.
And if they don't, I mean, the system knows that if they look at it, Blacks African Americans or Hispanics, we get the less care when it comes to diabetes, and we get the care where they don't care. That's the kind of care we get.
That's right.
We don't care.
We don't care. Well,
we don't care.
That's right.
Because it's obvious.
That's right.
You know, I go into a hospital when I need help, and you tell me, oh, sorry, was you using drugs or something? They asked my ex, is she on drugs? Because she can't not have a pancreas. She can't live without a pancreas. So I got to be on drugs because I'm telling you I don't got a pancreas.
Right.
So that's why this is such a fight for me, because I do know it's disparities when it comes to race and diabetes. It plays a big part. And I truly thank the Boston Black News for being able to let us use their platform to expose this, because it's important. And if AADA don't speak about it and tell the truth about it, it will never get told.
We agree.
So we're gonna ring the alarm, and we're gonna speak about it, and we're gonna tell the truth that because of the color of our skin, we don't get the care that we need when it comes to diabetes. Absolutely.
Yes. And so you're hearing it straight from Barbara King, chairperson of the board of the African American Diabetes Association, here live on Boston Black News and Boston Praise Radio and TV. And she's talking about diabetes in the African American community. She's talking about her own experiences with diabetes, even as of yesterday, even as of her going to the emergency room to get assistance on her plight of challenges with diabetes, here live on Boston Black News. We're glad that you're here. Pastor Bruce Wall is in the house. He is actually posting on our platform, the Zoom platform. He's asking a number of questions that are critical to addressing diabetes in the African American community of Boston. He asks, what book can we read that will give us the ABCs of diabetes? I'm going to, well, there she goes.
Wait, you can't see it. Oh, man. I just read it. Yeah. It's this book, Rock, that I sent you. I don't know. It's Diabetes in the History. Diabetes, a History of Race and Disease. And it's by Arlene Marsha Touchman. I will put it in the chat, but it's called Diabetes, a History of Race and Disease. Just starting the first chapter, I was amazed. I was just amazed with it. Just because it really went into the specifics of, and it went back to 18 something and about talking about how diabetes started and that it was a Jew disease at first. And then once they figured out that the Jews was doing all right with it, and then they find out it's really it's the disparities in the African American community. It really went into how they just want to deny that, diabetes is not an African American disease. And so I haven't really read it, but I do know from the beginning of the book, it's just been, it's truth telling to me. But I'm going to read the whole thing so I can, really say what my thoughts about it. But it's a good start. And it tells the breakdown.
And so say that name again for those that are listening to the broadcast or watching the broadcast or rebroadcast. What is the name of the book again?
It is Diabetes, a History of Race and Disease. Diabetes, a History of Race and Disease. And it's by Arlene Marsha Touchman, Tuchman. And I got it off of Amazon. And I would, Rock, are we able to give a giveaway on here somehow?
Yes, we are.
To someone? I will donate this book to someone, or any kind of book that you put on diabetes, because it's important that you know about your diabetes and being an African American. It's so important. So important.
Yeah, so to get access to that particular book, she's going to give away one book to someone that really wants it and deserves it and really needs it. You can get in touch with Barbara at AfricanAmericanDiabetes.org. Again, Barbara at AfricanAmericanDiabetes.org. Just drop her a line. I'm sure she will communicate with you. First come, first serve.
Yeah, absolutely.
Barbara at AfricanAmericanDiabetes.org. We got about 20 more minutes in this broadcast, and I want to thank again Pastor Bruce Wall for providing this resource, this platform to begin to educate our people about diabetes in the African American community. Pastor Bruce Wall also asks specifically the ABCs of diabetes. And by the way, that's what we're doing in communities in Roxbury right now. We are distributing a brochure actually created by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We're partnering with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on this, and that is the ABCs of diabetes. Actually, those words are being used. The ABCs of diabetes. We're distributing those brochures. We have distributed, I guess, around 15,000 thus far. We're going to distribute more, but we are distributing those brochures across Roxbury and in communities of Roxbury, Academy Homes, Jamaica Plain, and Orchard Park communities, and we're going to target additional communities moving forward. But the bottom line is that the ABCs of diabetes is critical to us, and that's why we are distributing those brochures about diabetes. And we're also distributing brochures, and Pastor Bruce Wall is assisting us with that, along with the Eric Kennedy. He is assisting us with that distribution as well. So we appreciate their work with regards to diabetes in the African American community. Barbara, let's get back to this whole issue of diabetes in the criminal justice system.
Yes.
I'm interested in this whole conversation about this pump and the fact that you have the opportunity to have the pump, but inside the prison system, it doesn't appear that the pump or the CGM monitors, these things that, you know, we use as technology to essentially check our blood sugar levels to make sure that we don't go up too much or go down too little. Because if you go up too much, you can have a heart attack or stroke. If you go down too much, you can have a heart attack or a stroke.
Exactly.
But in the criminal justice system, there is nothing except a prick. And, you prick your finger to find out what your blood sugar level is. And sometimes that doesn't happen on a regular.
Exactly.
You've got something to say about that.
And yeah, I do. And it might not be, when you say they check their blood sugar, as I say, yes, the horrible thing is they have them get in line, before all the other inmates, and they have them test their blood sugar. But some of them, that's the only time of the day in the morning that they test their blood sugar. And I will say this, Rock spoke a little, he did mention real quick about the pump and the pod. Whether you have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, you should not be walking around still pricking your finger. Nobody should be sticking their fingers anymore. That's old, and it should be played out. If you're still sticking it and you're black, it's because you're black and you're sticking your finger.
That's a fact.
It's a fact. Your fingers, the way you stick your fingers, and that hurts, and the way that it builds up. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you're a diabetic and you're pricking your finger, how your fingers start looking, and it's horrible. We shouldn't be looking at that. No matter how much lotion you try to put on it, you can't get those scars away. It took years.
I'm looking at my finger right now. Got scars on it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So nobody should be pricking their fingers at this day and age, whether you're type 1 or type 2. We have something that's considered a CGM. You just stick it on, you put it in your arm. You don't have to worry about sticking your fingers ever again. It reads it for you. It tells you what your sugar is. If you got a phone, if you don't have a phone, they got free phones out there that you can get. They don't tell you that, but you can get it. And so you should not be sticking your fingers anymore. The people incarcerated should not have to be. They can't kill themselves with that little thing stuck on them. So why do they not have it? Why do diabetics in prison do not have this tool? They shouldn't even be getting finger sticks. They should be able to control their sugars. They can look on their monitor and see what their sugar is.
That's right.
They don't have to have the inmate control the sugar. They control everything else. They control them when they're locking them down.
That's right.
With the technology. So control their blood sugars with the technology that they have in there. So yes, they're doing an injustice to the inmates in prison. They're doing an injustice to them. They should no longer have to deal with wondering if their sugars are low or if their sugars are high, because they can't do anything about it. What they might can call a God and hopefully they'll come. If they're experiencing low blood sugar. We've heard horror stories, myself and Rock, with people that are incarcerated with diabetes. They shouldn't be falling out on the floor. They shouldn't. It should not be happening. So that, we're so passionate. I am so passionate about that. I have a brother that have many medical issues. And thank God that he knows how to write. If anything, he's been in there long enough, but he knows how to write. And he gonna write to somebody that's gonna try to get him some help. And so if he didn't know how to do that, where he know how to write out to me, he knows how to send me information that I know how to get to a lawyer. But imagine the people that don't have that. He has 8 siblings and I'm only one that he really talks to.
Right.
So imagine that. Imagine when you don't have nobody and you're incarcerated and you don't have nobody to say, I'm having problems with my sugar and they're doing nothing about it. Just imagine it. So imagine sitting behind that cell and you got to deal with a low blood sugar. And when my low blood sugars, I don't even have the energy to call out for help.
Right. That's right.
The profuse sweating, the confusion, so imagine if you are locked up. Sometimes I can't even imagine it. I don't even want to imagine it. So what I say is, Barbara, don't imagine it, do something about it. And that's why I'm so passionate about making sure that they get the help that they need, whether it's diabetes or any kind of medical. But I can speak more for diabetes because I know how it feels to have a low blood sugar. I know. So I could speak about it and I could tell them, this is what you need to do for these inmates to make them live a longer life. And for the ADA to help them when they get out, that they're going to have the proper care that they need when they get out if they have diabetes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. Passionate. My passionate sister, who is leading the effort on diabetes in the African-American community of Boston, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and around the nation. Barbara King is passionate about what she does. It's clear. It's obvious. It's clear and obvious. Actually, Pastor Bruce Wall Franklin Hobbs, Eric Kennedy, and the team over
Absolutely.
there at Boston Black News are equally as passionate about this issue of diabetes. I thank Pastor Bruce Wall and Pastor Franklin Hobbs for their leadership in supporting the African American Diabetes Association and educating the African American community of Boston and Commonwealth of Massachusetts about diabetes. It's a unique and powerful partnership, by the way. And actually,
Absolutely.
Pastor Wall is saying in the chat room that this is Pastor Wall. I'd like to bring him in the next couple of minutes before we have to go, because if he is willing and able to do it, I'd love to see his face, if at all possible, because he's saying something that's very powerful. He's saying, I am going to be more informed than both of you after I read my new book. That's Paul saying, I'm getting that one.
It's a good one.
Hello, Pastor Wall. I know you have something to say.
I am excited because, again, I love my doctor. But at my last visit last week, I said, can you refer a book that I can read? Not the kind of book that you would read, but I need something for the everyday person. And he said, you can go to Amazon and find it. But I really wanted him to refer me to a book. So the fact that I have one now, and I've just ordered it, it'll be here on Wednesday. So Leon Rock, I can't do your broadcast on Friday because I'll be too busy reading my book. But this is really important. I mean, a support group I would go to a support group because now I want to learn more about diabetes, because I'm not pricking my finger. I'm not doing any of that. And my doctor just isn't taking me through the process the way that I want to be taken through. So thanks to both of you for informing us and helping a lot of us to learn. And then lastly, I'm going to keep re-airing these broadcasts. So this will not be the only time that people can hear this. I'll put it on a couple more times during the week.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you. We thank you, Pastor Bruce Wall. You are a blessing, I tell you.
Yes, he is.
Boston Black News. You know, it's funny because I have to share this because I said, I go around to people and I say, are you listening to Boston Black News? I don't care what it is. It don't have to be diabetes, but I'm like, you living in Boston, you don't know about Boston Black News? I'm going to put the word out because it's so informative. I not only do the AADA is able to go out here and share the important news about diabetes, but there's so much other information on there that I text Rock and I'm like, oh, I didn't know about the mammal. Oh, I didn't know. So I'm excited, and I thank you for letting the AADA use this platform because it's so important for Boston. It's so important for the inmates, for us to get that information to them. So I'm excited. I'm excited to do this. I'm excited for the AADA. I'm excited for Rock.
And actually, I'm excited for you. And by the way, your activism, your advocacy, self-advocacy for yourself, and the advocacy that you give every day to everyday Bostonians. You are an amazing person that actually empowers people through your passion, your direction. Let me ask you a quick question. There was an announcement just recently by a pharmaceutical company that they are going to reduce the out-of-pocket expense for diabetes medicine, particularly Humalog. I guess Eli Lilly and Company has announced that. What's the position of AADA on that particular issue? Do you think it's groundbreaking, as so many people are saying, or what's your thoughts?
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to tell you what I told the news media, Rock, and to our listeners. It does absolutely nothing for me, and I'm on Humalog. So does it really help the African American community? We'll see, because I want to see if there's a lot of people out there like myself that will say, I have insurance. I don't pay $35 anyway. I have a $30 copay, so it's not going to help me. Something that I got to live on, number one, and I got to live on this diet, this medicine. If I don't have it, I will die. And so when I was short on my insulin and I called Lilly and I said to them, I cannot afford my insulin. They said, we will give you one free vial and you can never call again to get any more. So does this really help us? No. To me, I have to be honest. It does nothing for me. And so that's my point on it. Now, I would like to see it or hear more African Americans to say, by them dropping it, does it help us? I want to see it, but I could speak for myself. No, it does absolutely nothing for me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that.
I thank Lilly, though. I do thank them for the people that can't, that spends more. But who spends that high price anyway, $100 or $300, $400 for insulin? Caucasians, Black people can't afford that anyway. So if the insulin is $400, we wasn't paying for it anyway. So does it help them? Yes, it does. Because now they don't got to pay $400, but we wasn't paying that anyway, because we couldn't afford the insulin if it was costing us $400 anyway.
Well, enough said on that one.
Thank you.
Wow, I love it. I love it. Pastor Franklin Hobbs is in the house, and we got a couple minutes left. We're going to allow Franklin Hobbs to come on in if he has the opportunity. Pastor Hobbs, you got some comments.
Sure. Thank you so much, Dr. Rock. Thank you, Mrs. King. This is an outstanding broadcast. I got to tell you, I was listening to it at home on TuneIn. And so it's just amazing on Boston Praise Radio and TV Network, because you were saying earlier, all of the platforms that are afforded via Boston Praise Radio and TV Network, Boston Black News, and 102.9, where you can be tuned in. So I'm literally at home listening to it on the app and being so impressed and pleased with the information that has been provided, and so excited to be a part of this exciting partnership for us to really address this. I'm humbled